I sat down to watch Blue Eye Samurai at 10 p.m. and that was a mistake. Because I ended up watching the entire series and finished at 6 in the morning, I think at this point this might be my favorite cartoon animation series. And today I wanna talk about Mizu, our absolutely masterful and incredibly subtle protagonist in this story. But if you think I'm going to just praise her character, you are deeply wrong. Because Mizu, as every single aspect of this show, raises a lot of questions for me and sometimes even triggers direct rejection. And in this complexity lies a secret why I love her and this show so much. Let's start on the surface. She is obviously just unpleasant, unattractive, and not emotionally inviting at all. She has sharp, angular facial features, small eyes, and those little round glasses that only highlight the severity of her face. But this kind of look obviously perfectly reflects her character. During the first episode, I barely resisted googling, is the main character a man or a woman? And that's kinda incredible, considering we hear a woman's voice the entire time. Yet, right until the reveal, we are not fully sure. And that's the point. Even after 10 episodes, almost nobody in the story knows Mizu is a woman. She survived in this misogynistic world by hiding and burying her femininity. So having this androgynous appearance is a perfect externalization of her identity. That cold, sharp face also reflects her nature. Mizu is a killer, cold as ice, balancing on the edge of becoming a complete monster. So someone like that shouldn't look soft or pretty. And because we are so used to seeing Mizu as this icy, unlikable figure, when her flashback appears, when she touches warmth and love for the first time, her face suddenly becomes shockingly beautiful and feminine. And this powerful, painful contrast makes her more beautiful than any conventionally attractive woman. Akemi is conventionally beautiful, but I couldn't care less about her looks. Mizu is not pretty, but because of this transformation, she became infinitely beautiful to me, and I honestly can't remember ever experiencing such a shift in how I perceived a character appearance purely through storytelling, not through just a visual makeover. Secondly, Mizu acts as a genuinely repulsive, alienating, unpleasant person. She is emotionally cold and sometimes cruel to people who reach out to her. She often speaks in these dry and blunt monologues about her revenge, and in the early episodes it's really hard to feel anything warm towards her. But again, that's exactly the point. That's who she is. Little by little, we start to understand what she went through. From childhood, the world wanted her dead. She wasn't even supposed to exist. Society saw her as a mistake. She was an innocent child, called a monster, chased from every place and being stoned. The greatest warmth she ever had as a child was just the chance to peacefully exist, living in silence with a distant, monk-like blacksmith who never even discussed her gender with her, and probably never spoke to her about anything outside daily stuff and philosophy of the forge. And later, when she finally got a chance for warmth and love, and we are surprised to see how much she quietly but willingly stepped into that world of trust and closeness. The world betrayed her in the worst way, once more time confirming to her, you are a monster. And even her companions during the journey, while they seem warm, don't really treat her as she deserves. Ringo follows her, asks to become her apprentice, but he doesn't really see her. He fantasizes about honor, samurai ideals, greatness, and Mizu tells him plainly, I'm not what you're thinking, I'm not samurai, I bring death, there's no beauty in it. And in the middle of the story, Ringo betrays her, and not even for a good reason, just because she sent Akemi to her father to safety after a deadly situation they barely survived. Taigen also shows some warmth, loyalty, admiration, and even sexual tension. But anyway, his goal is still to kill her. As a child, he caused her a lot of pain. As an adult, he reminds her dozens of times that she's a stray dog. His worldview completely opposes her. He's leaning towards samurai honor, wanting to be with Akemi, and fundamentally rejects everything Mizu stands for. So yes, Mizu treats them coldly. But even if you ignore whole her backstory, these characters don't exactly deserve warmth. Even though Mizu is kinda boring character, she literally doesn't want anything in this life except revenge. She has almost no personality beyond that, but again, first of all, it is completely justified once we learn her backstory. Second, if we're talking about the archetype of revenge-driven character, I think Mizu is one of the best revenge character I can recall. The most important thing about her, she stays loyal to her core idea. You know, it is a bit disappointing when you see a revenge character who suddenly starts moralizing or who hesitates. That's just pussy as fuck, bro. And then on other side of the spectrum, you have characters who just blindly and dumbly kill, like, I don't know, John Wick. No soul, no depth, just a kill machine. And Mizu stays loyal to her revenge, but still shows depth and inner conflict. She doesn't suddenly become warm to everybody, she doesn't turn into some honorable samurai, she keeps pursuing her personal goal, and that goal justifies any means. But at the same time, she makes a little step towards her companions by promising to save Akemi. And we see Mizu going through a deep inner existential conflict. Has she become a monster who doesn't deserve to hold a sword, someone without a soul? Or is death and vengeance, her art, her fate, something she must accept completely? And after all, we see that Mizu wasn't always a cold killing machine. At first, she didn't even have enough strength to kill. So Mizu remains on the one hand simple character driven purely by revenge, but on the other hand it doesn't feel like primitive character, it feels like integrity. Like not some flimsy moral ambiguity complex character that doesn't mean anything, but like a real strong character built around one strong idea. And speaking of revenge, entire Mizu revenge arc feels a little bit weird. She wants to kill all 4 European men in Japan, because one of them, no idea which one, maybe raped her mother, who was a prostitute, maybe. And because of that, she was born a half-blood. And the world bullied her for a simple fact of existing. And in some way it feels like strange, shaky foundation. A blind revenge against people she doesn't even know for a crime she can't be sure of, for a cause that's almost abstract. But on the other hand, this revenge is also a protest against the injustice of how the entire world is built. It is revenge of an unwanted, unloved daughter, aimed to a father she never knew. It is the path of someone who has no place in this world, who was never given no chance by society, and whose only option was to hate. Like in some way it is revenge for a very fact of her existence. And of course it's the revenge for the warmth, the love, the femininity, the desire for closeness, peace and trust, all of which lived inside her, but which the world kept ripping away, calling her a monster over and over again. So yes, her revenge feels both blind and aiming nowhere, but at the same time it feels like the deepest existential revenge possible. What's also interesting in Mizu character is how carefully she integrates her lost femininity. Like I said earlier, in the beginning you can't even tell if she's a man or woman. And even once we find out she's a woman, it doesn't help much. We still don't see any warmth from her, just ice and death. In the flashback, we learn how much she longed for a trust, warmth and real home. She is kinda clumsy, she learns how to cook, she starts to laugh and care for the horse. She lets her husband feel strong and submits to him, and very slowly she opens up and she even initiates intimacy. But her real nature is aggressive anyway. During their fight she accidentally provokes him and hurts him badly, but of course it's clear for us that she didn't mean to. It was just her playful, impulsive way of loving, a non-feminine femininity, and I think it must have deeply hurt her that her husband got scared of her sincerity. But here's where Mizu surprises us. Instead of causing drama or hatred, she chooses humility. She puts on makeup, she dresses, and she waits for husband calmly, maybe to talk, maybe to apologize. And then he horribly betrays her. He takes her horse, sentences her to death, and kills her traitorous mother. We also can clearly see sexual tension between her and Taigen. He feels drawn to her, or to him to be exact, but she calmly chooses to let him go, Mizu and tells him about Akemi. Then comes this almost sacred moment. Mizu strips down and covers her body in scripture. And I'm not entirely sure what this scene means, but I think it's about her finding inner peace, integrating her demonic side with her human side, and accepting the emptiness and purity of her path. And of course, the nudity makes it feel almost like a witch ritual, a soft symbolic integration of her femininity. Especially given that in parallel we can see Akemi, who also performs her feminine growth. And I love how subtle and non-preachy whole this Mizu feminine arc is. Even by the end of season 1, no one except Ringo and Fowler knows she's a woman. She doesn't dramatically let her hair down, she never declares I'm a woman and I accept myself. That's Akemi's job. But with Mizu, it's all much quieter, much more graceful, and that makes it powerful. So yes, Blue Eye Samurai gave us incredible protagonist, Mizu. Her character is very complex and sometimes questionable, but anyway, I'd call her brilliant. Her revenge arc feels naive and shaky, built on a vague and irrational foundation, but at the same time, it's profoundly existential. The show had the balls to make the protagonist ugly, cold and unpleasant, and that reflects her essence perfectly. And that's exactly what makes her transformation so powerful. Mizu is a one-dimensional character obsessed with hatred and revenge, but that feels like a character with a spine. It feels like the integrity. She's icy, there's no warmth in her, and yet the show very carefully and elegantly develops her, without ever betraying who she really is. Thank you for being here, bro, and right now I'll continue recording the video about all other aspects of Blue Eye Samurai. So bro, turn on the next video and continue watching.
I'm naturally stealthy. Useful. Naturally stealthy. Stealthy.
You do that a lot.